Hey there, I'm Scott the Winemaking Guy, and welcome to episode 7 of Help My Winemaking, the video podcast that helps people like you improve your winemaking savvy so you can make great tasting homemade wine. Alright, let's get this show started. So on today's show, a quick idea for all you grape wine folks, the dangers of using a plastic water bottle as a carboy, and finally a wine storage alternative from Down Under. Okay, so a quick idea for all you grape wine folks, and this comes from based on a conversation I had with one of my winemaking folks, and they were wondering about the cost of getting a grape de-stemmer. And since this is harvest, I thought I would bring it up. Now, just to give you some background, grape de-stemmer is where you put your grape clusters, and it separates the grapefruit from the stems that they grow on. And you basically need the de-stemmer, which you can see here, and also a good idea is to add this trap, which you would stick this on top, and then it would collect everything that came out. Now, these things can cost, in this case, this is $550 for this de-stemmer and $321 if you bought it from eckrause.com. So you're looking at just under $900 to buy this setup. Now, if you're only going to use this once a year, I was suggesting to him that you rent or borrow one from your local winemaking supply store, or even if you have a friend that has one. I know I borrowed the fruit crusher from our local supply store, and it cost me $2 for the weekend. That's a lot better than $900. You can also join a winemaking club in your area because they usually have one. Or you can do a group buy. So if you have a bunch of friends who share a similar hobby to you, then you can basically share in the costs. I know on the same vein, when I grew up, our families shared the cost in a snowblower with our neighbors, and that worked out quite well. So hopefully that is an idea for all you folks looking for a grape de-stemmer, and hopefully it saves you a few dollars in the process. Alright, so let's talk about the dangers of using a plastic water bottle as a carboy. And this is another question I get asked quite a bit, so I wanted to discuss it with all of you folks. Now, before I go into this, I guess my disclaimer is I'm not a doctor, I am not a scientist, and so these are just basically me as a friend talking to you as a friend. So we'll leave it at that. Alright, so what I'm talking about is this is the Better Bottle plastic carboy, which I've used, and there's absolutely no problem with it. Obviously this is a glass carboy, which most people will use, and then you also have over here a typical plastic water bottle that you get your water from the store. So which one is better for winemaking? I think the easiest way to discuss this is just to do the pros and cons. So let's start with glass carboys. First off, they're made for making wine, beer, and mead. I'm going to add mead now because I know there's quite a few people who are out there making it. And mead is basically like beer but made with honey. Glass is slippery, so bugs like bacteria and other germs don't stick to it. And it helps you control the oxygen. Now they're also, especially when you add your wine must, they're heavy, they're breakable, so if you drop them they can get cracks and you'd obviously have to throw it out. And also the cost, if you want to buy one, you're looking at $25 and upwards depending on where you buy them. Now the Better Carboy, so that's a plastic carboy. The pros are they're made for making wine, beer, and mead. They're food safe, so they won't transfer any flavors from the plastic into your wine. They're durable, they're light, and they also controls the amount of oxygen that goes into them. And they're made from PET, which is the plastic that's okay to use. Cons, they may scratch inside when using a carboy brush, so just be careful of that. And as you can see from this picture, they can melt. Now this is from a picture from one of my friends from Newfoundland who used one. She said, hey, I've got one of these plastic carboys, because I did blog about it a year or so ago. But the problem is she tried to sanitize it with boiling water, and as you can see it melted. So be careful of that, but obviously she's still using it, and it's fine. And the cost, which is about $25, same as a carboy of similar size. So let's finally talk about the plastic water bottles. Now there's lots of people out there who want to use them because they're cheap. You can pay $10 or whatever it is in your area, and that gets your water as well as the deposit, which you'd get back. So it's cheap. They're available everywhere. They're light. obviously, just like the better bottles, but also like the better bottles, they may scratch inside when using a carboy brush. They can melt if you use boiling water, but they're not made for making wine, beer, and mead, especially with the acidity levels, which when you make wine, beer, and mead, so it could influence the chemical structure inside, which leads to flavor scalping. So plastic flavor could get into your wine, and there's also obvious health concerns if it's not made from the right plastic. That could also get into your wine as well. So some things to watch for. First off, I'd say if you're convinced that everything is fine and you want to use the plastic water bottle to make your wine as the carboy, flip it over, look at the bottom, and see what symbols on it. If it's a 1 or a 2, that's made from PET or HDPE, and that's generally okay. However, most water bottles are made of polycarbonate, and that's not okay. And you know that if you flip it over and you see a 7 on it. 7 means other, and which includes polycarbonate. Now, why polycarbonate is bad is because it uses BPA, and you've probably heard this before. I believe it was, oh heck, I can't remember the name of the water bottle company. Nalgene, there you go. They had to yank everything off the shelf because they were using BPA to make their water bottles, and now a lot of the water bottles are claiming to be BPA free, which is good. Anyways, so the reason why BPA is bad is because it mimics the natural female sex hormone estradiol, and in animal research it has been linked to female reproductive disorders, breast and prostate cancer, and attention and developmental problems. So basically, if you use a polycarbonate bottle, you have the potentiality, I suppose, to leach stuff into your water or beer, which is bad for your health. So really, it's up to you. You're an adult, you can make your own decisions, but I'd first off definitely say get informed. Have a look at the symbol and see what it says. If it says 7, don't use it. I might not even use it if it has water in it, and opt to use a water bottle manufacturing company that uses something other than BPA based plastics. Personally, I'd opt for using safer equipment versus saving a few dollars. My health is important for me, and if it means making a lifestyle change or making better choices, and my health is going to be better in the long run, that's what's important for me. So to get informed, you can go on Wikipedia and search for plastic recycling code. Here's the website address for it. Also, if you want to learn more about the Better Bottle, here's the website, better-bottle.com/technical.html, and that'll talk to you all about the technical stuff about their water bottles. If you Google using a water bottle as a carboy, you'll find that a bunch of forums have discussions about it, and it's actually a pretty hot topic and a big topic that people will talk about. Anyways, and you'll find that there's lots of different opinions on it, so read through them and form your own opinion. But I'd say, bottom line, get informed. So there you go. There's my take and some research on using plastic water bottles as carboys. And let's finish off with a wine storage alternative from Down Under. So I'm going to talk to you about Flex Tank in Australia. And this came from my good friend Dr. Frank Puzio, who I know is one of my listeners. So hi, Frank. Thanks for this, for telling me about this. Basically, these guys use PET plastic, so the number 1 in the recycling code, to make their wine storage tanks, and they're basically going after those stainless steel tanks and oak barrels, and you can use their oak plank packs to drop in to get the same flavor, and it's a good alternative. It's cheaper and they last longer. And I'm not an investor in their company, but if you're interested in learning more about these folks, click on the investors tab and you'll see a YouTube video, and it'll last for 5.5 minutes, and it's interesting. They're not going to try to sell you on being an investor. They just talk about their company and why their product is worth looking at, and I highly recommend you do. Alright, there you go. So let's finish things off here. So as always, links are on my blog, so winemakingguy.com/resources, and if you have any tips or comments to share, feel free to send them to me, tips@helpmywinemaking.com. So that's all the time we have this week. Hope to see you next week, where we'll be talking about acid titration. Have a great week, folks. Bye for now.